Have you ever had that feeling where you're reading scripture, you're going through the motions, you get the words, but that deep personal connection, it just isn't there? Well, today we're going to explore a really gentle, structured way to turn that feeling around. It's a practice that can honestly lead to more clarity, less anxiety, and a much stronger sense of purpose in your spiritual life.
You know what I'm talking about, right? You're reading a verse, you totally understand what the words mean on the page, but there's a space between you and the meaning. You feel disconnected, maybe even a little numb, and it just doesn't quite land in your heart. And if that sounds familiar, I want you to know it's a super common challenge. It's that feeling of being stuck, of thinking, okay, now what? You're not sure how to get past a purely intellectual reading. And that feeling, right there, is exactly where our journey begins today. So, the big question is, how do we bridge that gap? Well, look at the column on the left. Without any structure, our reflections can sometimes end up feeling kind of vague. Maybe we think the same thoughts over and over, and it's just unfocused. But look at the right. By using a simple tool, reflection prompts, that same exact process becomes intentional, it becomes guided, and it feels a lot more sincere. It's really just about adding a little bit of structure to our spiritual conversations. And this brings us to the absolute core idea behind this whole method. I love this quote. Prompts aren't a test you have to pass, and they are not some rigid formula you have to follow. Just think of them as gentle doorways. They're invitations to explore what's really going on in your own heart and mind in conversation with the divine text. Okay, so now that we get the why, let's dive into the how. Because before we even look at the prompts themselves, it's absolutely crucial to get the mindset right. The approach we take is just as important as the tool we're using.
And here are the guidelines. They're so simple. First, keep it simple. Just one or two prompts is plenty. Second, let the verse itself speak to you first. Then pick a prompt that fits. And hey, if a prompt feels forced or just doesn't resonate, just skip it. No big deal. The real goal here is honesty, not writing the correct answer. And remember this one. Sometimes the most profound response is just silence, just being present. All right, let's get to the tools themselves. What is so fantastic about this approach is just how versatile it is. There are prompts designed to meet you right where you are, whether you're in a moment of pain, confusion, anxiety, or even joy and gratitude. So let's look at a situation that is deeply relatable for every single one of us. Navigating those really difficult times, dealing with emotional struggle. How can we engage with scripture then without feeling like we're just spiritually bypassing our own pain? This is such a powerful prompt for those moments. See, instead of ignoring the hardship, it invites you to actively look for the comfort that's being offered within it. It helps you reframe the pain not as God being absent, but as a space where divine wisdom and solace can actually be found. Okay, now let's shift gears to another really common feeling, anxiety. That sense of not knowing what's coming next, that deep desire for control in a world that feels so uncertain. Yep, there's a prompt for that too. This question, it's so direct and so effective. It helps you actually name the specific fear that's weighing on your heart. And then it asks you to consider how the verse is inviting you to let it go, to surrender that need for control and place your trust in something greater. It's a direct path from anxiety to reliance. So we've got the why and we've got the what. Now for the really important part, the how. Let's walk through a very simple, totally actionable framework that you can start using this week to put all of this into practice. And it's a beautifully simple 5-step process. Seriously, first, just read a single verse, nice and slow. Step 2, make sure you understand its context. Then, step 3, choose just one prompt that resonates with you. After that, just write, freely. Don't censor yourself, don't judge. And finally, close your reflection with a short prayer or an intention. The key here is consistency, not how long you write for. All right. Let's ground all this in a really concrete example so it's not just abstract. We'll use a very well-known verse from the Quran to see exactly how this journaling practice can work. Here's the verse. It's a statement of profound reassurance and mercy, right? It's something many of us have heard 1,000 times. But the real question is, how do we move from just hearing it to truly feeling its truth in our own lives? So choosing the right prompt is key. For a verse like this, a really powerful one is, what evidence do I have that Allah has carried me through hardship before? Do you see how this takes a big, universal truth and points it right back at you, asking for personal proof from your own life story?
And this right here is where that deep connection happens. A reflection like this might bring to mind past struggles that you totally overcame. You might remember moments where you found a strength you didn't even know you had, or times when support just appeared out of nowhere. You're anchoring your belief not just in the text, but in your own lived experience. So, as you can see from that example, this practice goes way beyond just a simple journaling exercise. The ultimate goal here isn't what you might think. It's not just about getting answers. It's about a really fundamental shift in how we approach scripture in the first place.
This quote just captures that shift perfectly. Sometimes we come to the Quran looking for these immediate, clear-cut solutions, but often its true power lies in teaching us how to ask better, deeper, more honest questions about ourselves, our lives, and our relationship with our Creator.
And this brings us right to the heart of the matter. This entire practice, the whole point, is about creating a space for sincerity. It's not about producing beautiful journal entries or coming up with profound insights on demand. It's just about showing up, asking honestly, and trusting that when the heart is truly open, guidance will follow.
So here is your invitation for the week ahead. Don't try to do everything at once. Just choose one verse, one that really speaks to you, and stick with it for the week. Each day, use one prompt to reflect on it, even if it's just for a few minutes. Because in this practice, your sincere presence is always, always more important than the length of your reflection. So what question will you start with?